Have you ever loved someone so deeply that you ignored every red flag until it was too late? Have you ever woken up one day and realized the man who shares your bed isn't your partner, he's your parasite? My name is Mia Barron, and this is the story of how my husband tried to live off me after the divorce, but instead he watched his entire world crumble while I built a new one from scratch. The first Friday of every month was my favorite community clay night at my ceramic studio in downtown Savannah. The clay wheels hummed softly, jazz played from an old speaker, and the smell of fresh, kill-fired pottery filled the air. My students, some tourists, some regulars, laughed and shaped imperfect bowls that they'd treasure forever. I moved around the room like a gentle current, helping here, guiding their all while feeling grounded and calm. This studio wasn't just a business. It was my sanctuary, my creation, my proof that I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. But all it took was one vibration from my phone to remind me that my sanctuary ended the moment I stepped back into my house. Caleb, don't wait up. Networking tonight. Networking. His favorite word? It sounded so much nobler than drinking with strangers. While bragging about a startup he never actually built, I turned my phone over and kept smiling for my students. 4 years earlier, Caleb could have sold sunshine to a man in a cave. We met at a creative entrepreneurship seminar. He stood on the stage, like he owned the room, handsome, animated, absolutely certain of his brilliance. Afterward, he approached me, praising my pottery, with dramatic words like vision and timeless craftsmanship. I was 29, newly independent, hungry for admiration I never received growing up. He gave it generously. Back then, I mistook attention for love. I mistook confidence for competence. I mistook performance for passion. The man who once dazzled me with ambition now spent most of his days on the couch wearing the same gray hoodie, yelling at gamers online. His startups were just ideas scribbled in notebooks. His job was developing himself as an entrepreneur, which apparently required sleeping until noon, complaining that the world didn't understand him, ordering takeout every night, using my income to pay for his subscriptions, his drinks, and his excuses. He'd sneer at my work. Pottery cute, but one day my business will support us both. It never did. Instead, mine supported him. I kept hoping he'd wake up one day and remember who he once pretended to be, but he didn't. And eventually I stopped pretending to. It was a Tuesday morning, humid and sticky, when my phone rang. My Aunt Evelyn, the woman who raised me, the only mother figure I had collapsed at a charity luncheon and passed away before reaching the hospital. Grief slammed into me like a wrecking ball. Evelyn was strict, formidable, and sharper than broken glass. But she loved me fiercely. She taught me independence, responsibility, and that being soft never meant being weak. Caleb, he hugged me stiffly, murmured an obligatory "I'm sorry," and then within an hour asked, "Do you know how much she left you?" My tears dried instantly. I saw him clearly for the first time. Over the next few days, grief pressed on me like a heavy fog. But Caleb, he buzzed around me like a fly circling food. He scrolled through Savannah real estate listings on my laptop. He added cars to an online wish. He spoke loudly about investments and crypto timing. He even joked, "Don't worry, babe. Your aunt's passing is sad, but it's also a chance for us to level up." A chance? A level up? My loss was his lottery ticket. My heart clenched in disgust. My aunt's lawyer, Eleanor Drayton, was a calm, intimidating woman with silver hair and steel gray eyes. When we sat down in her office, Caleb spoke before I even could. "We need to understand the inheritance structure. As Mia's husband, I'll be assisting with the financial decisions." Eleanor didn't even look at him. She fixed her gaze on me. "Mia dear, before we continue, I need to ask, do you want him present for this conversation?" Caleb's head whipped toward me. If looks could kill, the obituary would have been mine. I took a slow breath, stared at Eleanor, and whispered, "No, please ask him to wait outside." He stormed out, slamming the door so hard, the wall shook. For the first time, I didn't flinch. Alone with Eleanor, I learned my aunt had left behind a large trust. The trust was irrevocable and fully protected from spousal claims. I blinked. "What does that mean?" I asked quietly. Eleanor's smile softened. It means Caleb cannot take a single cent from you. Your aunt planned carefully. Aunt Evelyn knew. She had seen through him long before I ever did. There were more documents, she said. More revelations to come after the formal will reading. I left the office with trembling hands. Not from fear, from relief. That night, Caleb cornered me the moment I walked through the door. What did she say? How much? When do we get it? Something inside me snapped. I told him the truth. Evelyn wanted her wealth to fuel my dreams, not his. He lost control. Accusations, threats, mockery. Every manipulation he had ever used came pouring out like venom. He screamed things I can't repeat. He said I owed him everything. He said he sacrificed his career for us. He said I was heartless, selfish, ungrateful. Then he grabbed my arm so hard I yelped. I finally screamed back. I want a divorce. Silence. Then his voice low, cold, poisonous. You'll regret this. You'll pay me alimony until the day you die. I walked out. I didn't look back. 3 days later, I sat in the office of Jonathan Hale, a respected Savannah divorce attorney. He listened, took notes, asked careful questions. Then he leaned forward. Mia, you are in a very strong legal position. You founded your studio before the marriage. Your income is solely yours, and the trust, completely untouchable. Caleb's threats began to crumble. A week later, a message arrived from an unknown number. Hi, my name is Luna. I think we need to talk about Caleb. My stomach dropped. We met in a quiet cafe near the river. She was young, barely mid-20s, and looked terrified. She told me everything. Caleb told her we were basically separated. He used her connections at a local co-working hub. He promised her he'd invest in her marketing career after he got his share of the inheritance. He bragged he'd get half of everything I owned. He called me emotionally unstable and too fragile. Then she showed me texts. Don't worry, babe. She won't see it coming. Once the will reading is done, we're set. Her aunt hated me, but I'll win anyway. I felt sick. Not from jealousy, but from humiliation. Still, Luna cried while apologizing. She was a victim too. I thanked her for coming, and when she offered to testify if needed, I held her hand and said, only if absolutely necessary. You've suffered enough. Jonathan and I sat across from Caleb and his attorney in a conference room at a downtown hotel. Caleb had shaved, wore a navy suit, held a leather portfolio. He looked like a man interviewing for a position he'd already lost. His lawyer rattled off demands. Half my studio, half my income, spousal support, rights to future inheritance benefits. I didn't speak. Jonathan did, politely, professionally, completely dismantling every single demand. Caleb began shaking with rage. She owes me. I gave her everything. She's nothing without me. Jonathan calmly placed a hand over mine. Mr. Barron, please control yourself. That meeting ended with no agreement, but one certainty. Caleb was unraveling. The judge arrived late, stern, and tired. Eleanor stepped up to read the will. The room felt airless. I held my breath. Caleb leaned forward like a predator waiting to strike. Then came the moment. All assets are transferred to the Barron Family Trust, with Mia Barron as the sole beneficiary. Clause 6. Trust assets are shielded from any spousal or ex-spousal claims. Clause 7. In the event that Caleb Barron contests this trust, a sealed letter from the deceased will be submitted to the court. Caleb exploded. This is rigged. She can't just... The judge slammed his gavel. One more outburst and you'll be removed. Caleb sat, fuming, breathing hard. Then the sealed letter was open. The judge read aloud. Records of Caleb's past bankruptcies, his falsified loan applications, his infidelity, his manipulation, statements from people he had scammed before. Evidence Evelyn gathered through a private investigator. Every page twisted deeper into Caleb's lies. He paled until he looked like a ghost. His lawyer's hands trembled. The judge finally said, "These documents will be forwarded to the family court for the divorce proceedings. Mr. Barron, you would be wise to reconsider any financial demands." Caleb didn't speak. He couldn't. His world was collapsing. and we were only halfway through. 2 days later, Caleb's attorney begged for a new meeting. Caleb looked nothing like the man I had married. Hollow eyes, quivering hands, broken pride. His voice was barely a whisper. I'll drop everything. The business, the inheritance, spousal support. I just want a fair split of the house. Jonathan nodded. And a confidentiality agreement. Caleb agreed instantly. He was desperate. Then privately he grabbed my wrist and pleaded. They could charge me with fraud. Help me, Mia. Just say it was a misunderstanding. I pulled my hand away. No, Caleb. You made your choices. Now you live with them. It was the first time I felt truly free. My divorce was finalized. The house was sold. I bought a small, beautiful cottage near Forsyth Park. Pink roses climbed the fence. Sunlight streamed into every window. It felt like a home built for healing. My studio flourished beyond anything I imagined. People wanted my pottery, my workshops, my story. I hired 2 assistants, expanded into the vacant shop next door, created a gallery for local artists. I wasn't surviving anymore. I was building an empire. Rumors trickled in from mutual acquaintances. Caleb was blacklisted from local co-working networks. No one wanted to collaborate with a known manipulator. His reputation ruined. He moved to Atlanta. Word was he was working temp jobs and sleeping in a cramped studio. I felt no joy, no pity, just closure. At my grand reopening, the architect who designed my renovation, Daniel Pierce, raised a glass to me. To courage, he said softly, and 2 women who refused to stay small. I blushed. Maybe this was the start of something, or maybe it was just a moment. Either way, I felt open again. Not to a man, but to possibility. Later that night, I sat alone in the courtyard behind my studio. Fairy lights glowed softly overhead. Clay pots lined the walls like silent witnesses to my transformation. I whispered into the warm Savannah night. Thank you, Aunt. You were right. I am stronger than I ever believed. And for the first time in years, I truly believed it. Did you like this story? And what city are you listening from? Tell me in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, send a super thanks to support the channel and help me create more stories like this. On your screen now are 2 more life stories I highly recommend. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story.